Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for joining here. We're going to do another TV watch party with some classic public access shows from the 19. Let's see. This stuff we're going to look at, I think, is from the 1990s. And I want to thank already Shenzhen for sending a super sticker to support this channel. Thanks so much, Shenzhen. And thank you, everybody, for showing up, whether you're participating in the super chat or super stickers or any of that stuff. Today is the last day of the Beyond Vaudeville shop on Etsy. Well, at least it's going to be closed for a little while. On vacation, as they call it. So if you want to get something like this shirt, then be sure to check out the Beyond Vaudeville shop at Etsy today, but not right now, because we're going to be looking at some videos, so don't do that. Nick, Dominique, thank you very much for your super sticker that you just sent as well. Also, Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, there's going to be another episode of Vaudeville going up at Beyond Vaudeville on YouTube. This one with Ryder Strong from Boy Meets World. And the band Sloan, popular band from Canada. And that's coming up Monday night. So I'm thinking we'll do these TV watch parties with these public access shows Sunday nights at 8, but tomorrow SNL is doing this much hyped 50th anniversary. So I figured rather than do it at the same time as that, we would just do this tonight. So Buttermilk Jug, thank you for your super chat, super sticker, whatever it's called. Much appreciated, Buttermilk Jug. I know you've been with us and watching these videos for a while, and really appreciate your support and appreciate the support of everybody who's been joining us and discovering these Beyond Vaudeville and Oddville shows. Especially since December. It's just really grown. And Hiram Jr. points out the NBA All-Star game too. Yeah, right. So, okay. So anyway, I think the first video we're going to look at is The Amazing Dr. D. So on these previous TV watch parties, we've been looking at a lot of entertainers, performers, singers, comics, but public access was always filled with a lot of, also with a lot of psychics and psychologists and conspiracy theorists. And Dr. D was kind of all those things rolled up into one. So I'm going to call up The Amazing Dr. D show. And Dr. D was Estine Del Rio Diaz. We're going to start off watching her intro, and then she's going to bring out her husband, Raul, and that is when they're really going to go deep into their conspiracy theories. So let's look at a little bit of The Amazing Dr. D. Meanwhile, if you have questions or comments in the chat, we'll get to them, whether it's about Beyond Vaudeville, Oddville, public access, these clips that we're looking at. Steven Singer, thank you very much for your super sticker. Let's take a look at The Amazing Dr. D.
Diaz.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good thing I have peripheral vision. Welcome to February 28th, the last Tuesday of 1995 February, to The Amazing Dr. D show. We thank you, our fellow New Yorkers, for inviting us into your living rooms, your bedrooms, your offices, your bathrooms, your precincts, or wherever else you might just happen to be. This is a help show, and the show tonight is actually to help you, because everybody's in need of help. You're in need of help, we're in need of help. In fact, I was just telling Raul tonight, perhaps there's a person out there that has two houses that might get us out of the line of fire. Because boy, have we been in the line of fire since we went out to tell the truth about Colin Ferguson. Raul was on the train, remember. I'm going to interview him about that and other incidences that are not normal. Paranormal people shouldn't be punished for being paranormal. And nobody in the United States of America should be able to be grabbed out of their automobile, stun-gunned, drugged, and taken away for 4 days, 2 of which they don't remember. It's a good thing I know hypnosis. But that's another story. And we thought perhaps there might be a millionaire out there who wanted to fund the God Squads. It's myself, my husband, and our associate. Defense Fund. If there is such an individual, boy, would we welcome you. Is there anybody that has 2 houses where we can get out of 30 Auschwitz, East End Avenue? And I don't call it that for the last 2 years, for no reason. The lasers, you know. Don't need heat in that place. Not when it's 16 degrees above zero. You're sweating. Lasers across the street and from all directions. And you'd have to agree, ladies, that a marriage in and of itself is difficult. When there is a bit of an age difference, it's even more difficult. But when your Central Intelligence Agency decides to find a doctor, turn her into a property manager, and she thinks that she's going to be in our house this Thursday arranging an accident, then you do have some problems. I mean, nobody needs the sluts of the CIA that go out of body to be in their bedrooms, in their apartments, or in their marriages. It's hard enough as is. There were some things in baseball I wanted to speak about. I've been looking at George Steinbrenner on CNN, and I was surprised, as you were, to see all those baseball players that weren't...
Okay, there's a lot going on here, and I'll try to help guide you through some of this because I watched a lot of Dr. D. But Dr. D and her husband Raul had a lot of conspiracy theories. They had claimed that Raul was on the train with Colin Ferguson on the Long Island Railroad. This was a horrific story about this crazy guy, Colin Ferguson, who just started shooting people on a train on the Long Island Railroad. And they said that Raul was on that train. They also said that Raul was approached a number of times by the men in black. They were also saying that their apartment building that they're living in it sounded like they believed the woman who worked in their building that they lived in was with the CIA, and there were laser beams across the street. And Nick, Dominique, you noticed that she referred to the, quote, sluts of the CIA. And yes, that's important to take note of because you will see Raul takes exception to her using that kind of language when we see Raul momentarily.
Placements with George's Yankee team in Tampa. Even Steve Howe selling tickets. You wouldn't even have to go to the game. Just buy a ticket from Steve Howe. It has to certainly be worth more than the $700 and some he's getting for selling it and talking to you. Don't be surprised if one of the major league teams has its own team, its own Major League Baseball team crossing the picket line against the people they've hired to march, because they're not going to, the major leaguers, so that you can have one of the teams that we said wouldn't win. The 3 league games that are now part of Major League Baseball, which still does not have a commissioner. It's one of the things that they're on our tails for. That's where it started with Major League Baseball. Well, I promise you, the man that was on the train with Colin Ferguson, my Mr. Snatched and abducted husband, the man who should in '94 have been given an award, Mr. Kidnapped of the Year. We'll be back to introduce him to you. And we're live at 505-6363 when we come back from our break. See you then. We're back.
All right, so here comes Raul, her husband and producer of this show. Amanda Luss saying in chat that she literally reminds me of my grandma. Wow, that's interesting, Amanda. I'd be very curious to see your grandmother in the comparisons to Dr. D. Okay, here comes Raul.
We're here live at 505-6363, and you are watching The Amazing Dr. D Show. And I'm your host, Dr. D. And now, the treat I have promised you. I would like to introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, to the man who was on the train with Mr. Ferguson, Colin Ferguson. I'd like to introduce you to my producer, my executive producer, my husband, my best friend, and the love of my life, Raul Diaz. Hi, baby.
Hi, baby.
Well, you're here to do a little talking tonight, and I'm here to interview you.
Well, you've been very angry. You've been very angry. You sound very, very angry tonight. And
I am.
As your producer, you know how upset I get about that, what I consider foul language. So the word that started with an S.
Oh, you'll do slut?
Yes.
That one.
Well, you know how I feel about that.
I forgot to say O-B-E, slut.
But you see, but you're still saying it, and you know that upsets me.
Well, I'm sorry you're upset, baby. You don't have to understand it's my show.
It's your show, but it's my responsibility to get you where you want to go, right?
Oh, yes.
And I can't do that. I can't
do that.
But I can't do that if you're using those type of words on the
Oh,
air.
I don't use them often.
I know
Only
you do.
when I get angry when it's happening.
But I just.
I mean, how would you like to be in my shoes and have somebody come into your house with a crew on Thursday to arrange an accident? There's no emergency necessary in our apartment for Thursday. We could have an accident with lighting. We could have an electrical fire at 30 Auschwitz East 6B. We could have the bathroom cave in, especially from the 7th floor where they don't have any leak. We could have our own floor cave in. We could have lots of accidents.
I just feel that it should never be used.
Oh, well, darling, personally, I apologize. To my audience, I'd say at the ripe young age of 61, I'll say what I feel. I always do. Anyway, darling, I'd like to take you back in time to go over some of your incidences with you, seeing that in my role, not as TV host, but as wife, I suffered a lot, and that's one of the reasons I am angry. Righteous anger is something even Jesus had, and I am righteously angry.
I'm also righteously angry.
I'm sure you should be. Let's go back to 1993. Let's go back to a Thursday, May 13th, when I received a phone call. And I put in my report. You were one of the people that was up looking for me. You couldn't find me in Washington Heights, could you?
Right.
Well, that's the one with the 34th precinct that still hasn't been addressed to this date. Then, of course, after May 13th, we came to your encounter in the police department. Yours, I do believe, was written on June 15th. We have a complaint to the 40th precinct. That was one of the times in 93, which I'll go back to first, to acquaint the audience as to what happened to you when you made your report at the 40th precinct. What happened?
You want to know what led to me?
I want to know exactly what happened, filing a report.
Okay, well, what month again was that?
Try June.
June of 93.
Yeah, the occurrence was June 10th.
As you know, I've been driving a cab.
Had to.
I've had to drive a cab.
Courtesy of your government taking your money away. All the lines of credit. No mail. Go ahead.
So I'm returning my cab. It's, if I recall correctly, it's 3:30 a.m. and a police car pulls me over. I pull over. This is at 3:30 a.m. as I'm returning my cab.
Mm-hmm.
The police car pulls me over, and he walks over to the door, and to the window, and he says to me that they're looking for a stolen cab.
A policeman in a police uniform.
Right.
Go ahead.
You know, they tell me to get out of the car. I get out of the car, and I hear from another car that I didn't see, a black four-door sedan with three gentlemen in it that I didn't know had three gentlemen in it until I got into the car.
Three suits with sunglasses?
Yes.
Three suits with sunglasses.
I heard my name called, Mr. Diaz, would you step back here for a minute? And I stepped back there, and they told me to get in the car. And I got into the car, and they put a gun to my head, and it all has to do with our documentation. I mean,
What did they say to you?
Well, they asked me, do you know why you're sitting here?
And what did you reply?
I was laughing when I said it, but, you know, only because it was funny. I said, does it have anything to do with does it have anything to do with an unmarked helicopter at Shea Stadium? And that's
I
when
don't
they
hear
put the
anybody
gun.
else out there laughing.
Then they
This
put the
was
gun
the
to my
number
head.
one reason I had my problem and he had his. Let's talk about the unmarked helicopter at Shea Stadium. What were the incidents in August that led you to write to Raul Fernandez of El Diario about the unmarked helicopter which appeared at Shea Stadium? What did they show on Bob Page's MSG, and what did you read in the news?
Well, it was in the news that an unmarked helicopter flew into Shea Stadium, hovered over the infield, and dropped a bunch of daisies.
12 daisies?
And packets of ashes.
12 daisies?
That's right.
That's what was reported?
Right.
And 12 packets of ashes.
Right. So, I mean, being a spiritualist and
Who reported this?
It was reported on MSG.
Okay.
Right.
Was it in the papers?
Right.
Did the newspaper reporters go out and count the daisies? Is that what they said in the papers?
That's what they said, yes. But I still think that you're getting a bit ahead of yourself.
I'm not going to stay with this too long. And I'm not ahead of myself. I'm in 93. I'm in August of 93, which precedes December 7th of 93.
What I would like to do, if it's okay with you, I mean, it is your show, is tell everyone, basically why I'm sitting here. I mean, I'm not your co-host. I never thought I'd be sitting here as your guest. That's for sure. I love the behind the scenes, So that's what I want to get into, Steen.
Well,
1989.
You're really sitting here based upon the incident that happened with the unmarked helicopter that I so foolishly got on and said, well, if I had a friend and he wanted to borrow a helicopter, I'd lend him one, because I identified it as, we all know where you can only get an unmarked helicopter from. The Central Intelligence Agency. Where else?
But there's a reason why. There's a reason why I would much rather go into the beginning of this, because then they won't be able to understand, about this helicopter, why the helicopter was even there. We have to start at the beginning.
Well,
I was on that train. But I would never get into why I was on that train unless people first understand that something happened that led me to be on that train, to witness what I witnessed, and that's what I must first be allowed to get into.
Go ahead, address it.
Because
and be quick.
It'll be, okay, be quick. Okay, let's see if I can please Dr. G and be quick.
Well, this goes 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, and 95.
Let me just get into 89 and 90, 91.
89, 91?
Just one person. Okay. Just one person, Don Mattingly. That's the only person.
Don Mattingly. I love this. Don Mattingly.
I show up at a Yankee game. This was in 89, and I'm looking on the field as the players are warming up. They're throwing the ball around. And there's Don Mattingly on the field, standing around first base. Out of the Yankee dugout comes a man.
What kind of
practically
man?
Naked.
Oh, you saw him as a man?
He's a man. He's only wearing briefs.
Okay.
And he's carrying.
Was he one-dimensional, two-dimensional, or three-dimensional?
To me, he looks like Don Mattingly. He looks like another man.
Okay. Everybody sees spirits differently. Go ahead.
I know it was a spirit. I mean, security would have removed him if he weren't a spirit. Okay? So, right. So, but the spirit was standing right behind Don Mattingly, and he was sticking a spear into Don Mattingly's back.
And what was Don Mattingly doing while he was getting spear chucked?
He didn't know what was going on. He did not know it was going on.
Was he changing his batting stance?
Not at that time. Not at that time.
Was he fidgeting? Was he nervous?
No. That came later on. This happened again in '89.
All right.
I wanted to get to George Steinbrenner to tell him that there's this spirit that's with Mattingly that's going to harm Mattingly.
Excuse me for interrupting you. Before you got to Steinbrenner, who did you go home and get and drag to that baseball game?
Well, I got you. I went home and I got you. And
Major League Baseball. I hate the sport, like the politics.
I want you to see that there's something on the field that
there was.
I saw that
there was something on the field. There were several spirit chuckers, 6 to be exact, and one of them was with Don Mattingly.
Well, the bottom line is that as we've tried by getting to numerous people.
By the way, if you're just joining us late, we are watching a classic episode of The Amazing Dr. D. She's here with her husband, Raul. These two were conspiracy theorists way before conspiracy theories became so prominent in our culture. This was 1996. Raul was just explaining to us that he was at the baseball stadium. Baseball player Don Mattingly was out on the field, and he saw a spirit come out from the dugout wearing just men's briefs and was poking Don Mattingly in the back with some kind of spear. Who are we to argue? He also talked about being taken in by 3 men in black with sunglasses from the time that he was driving a cab. I want to thank Easy Wages for the super chat. Let's go back and look at some more of Raul. D. Barker says in chat, I believe him. He is a spiritual documenter. Yes, we just saw the super under him that described him as a spiritual documenter. So, D. Barker, that's a good point. Let's go back and watch a little more.
Again, all I want to do is exercise Don Mattingly. He hasn't performed as the star he is since 1989.
Witchcraft,
and when I say that, I say again for the sports-minded people, he hasn't hit 300. Yes, he hit 304 this year, but this was an abbreviated year. He hasn't hit 300 since 89. He hasn't hit 20 home runs, and he hasn't driven in 100 RBIs.
No,
I've told them that if they allow us to perform his exorcism, he'll get back to those numbers. And there's an important reason why I feel that we should be allowed to do that.
What is that?
And the spirit told me that he was going to crash the entire Yankee airplane.
Well, we both know that spirits
and that's the
can do that.
reason why I want, and George Steinbrenner knows about this. We've been to his offices. We've been to the White House. President Clinton knows about it. Bush knows about it. It was Bush who put the helicopter on Shea Stadium. Again, people would have to read our doc to understand how we work.
Reading our doc is the last thing that those people want to have happen.
That this
and
is
that's
really
all
happening.
Major League Baseball.
This is really happening.
Oh, yes, it's happening.
And if Don Mattingly does not get that exorcism, which is what I'm really concerned about, aside from the takeover of our country, we'll get into that a little later.
We'll have to, because they're telling me that they want us to take a break. Okay, we will be back with you. We're here live, 505-6363, and we are interviewing tonight Mr. Doctor, the Docker, I call him. He is a spiritual documenter of happenings, most of the time before they happen, especially in Major League Baseball and with the fate of the United States of America. My husband, Raul Diaz. He'll be back with you after we come back from our break. See you then. And we're back from our break.
Just checking in on the chat, Nick Dominique also points out that she's a doctor, so we really have to believe the two of them. That's true. Amanda Lust says, imagine being a marriage counselor for these two. So many stories. Yeah, I think about that. What it must have been like to just be in the apartment with these two, talking over the kitchen table. It would be phenomenal. What it was like for the people that lived in their building with them in New York, what it was like for the police who had to take police reports from these two. Nick also says, my uncle was a Yankee back then. I need to ask if he witnessed this phenomenon. Yes, Nick, if you're able to, that would be great, and we can share that with everyone, whether or not your uncle, who was a Yankee, witnessed Don Mattingly with this spirit sticking a spear in his back on the baseball field. It's possible that your uncle wouldn't have seen it because your uncle might not have been a spiritual documenter, the same as Raul. But it's worth investigating and finding out if these two ever managed to get Don Mattingly and the Yankees to agree to having him go through an exorcism. I don't know. I don't think it ever made the sports pages. I never saw anything about it. Let's see. William is saying, yeah, this guy is on speed dial for the president. Mel Brewer wanted to know, would the exorcism have healed Mattingly's back? Maybe, Mel. I don't know. I don't know if the exorcism ever took place. Michael tomorrow is asking, are they still around today? I'll fill you in on that, Michael, as we once we get through this. Raimi Winter says they had a couple like this on Austin Public Access. Yeah, there were a couple of people like this on Access around the country, including some others in New York. But these two were pretty special. Here's Dr. D again with her husband, Raul, talking about some of the strange conspiracies that they witnessed.
You're seeing with us live at 505-6363. I'm your host, Dr. D, with the Amazing Dr. D Show. And with me tonight, the man that was on the train with Colin Ferguson, my husband, and producer, Raul Diaz. Raul, everybody that's called in is anxious to get to the Colin Ferguson part. They're not interested in your Major League Baseball. Sorry about that. So before we get to Colin Ferguson...
Again, I'm sorry that, I feel, again, that Major League Baseball had to be addressed.
This man's going to die. Let's deal with this first.
In order for them to understand why I would even be on that train.
If you want copies of Raul's documentation, please call and make an appointment. Our numbers will be listed later. If you decide that you're worthy enough to Xerox it for you, otherwise I'll send you to Manhattan Pacific Management Company. They got loads of copies. That's our managing agent. Right, Raul? Let's go to an incident in 1994. I'm going to skip December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, for a moment. Let's go to 2/28, a year ago in 1994. You ended up in a hospital. What happened?
Well, again, that was, I think that was close to the time that I was told not to write to the president. That's, again, that's going back to the incident where I was pulled over by the policeman, and I was put into this, I was asked to get into this four-door sedan.
This is 2 months after the Colin Ferguson happened.
I was told, don't send your documentation to the president.
He didn't, but I did. I wrote to Hillary.
Well, that's why that happened.
I know. They found out.
You wrote to
I'm
Hillary.
Sorry. I had to write Hillary. I don't like when people tell me.
I would have written to the president anyway.
We couldn't write to. It infringes upon my idea of a democracy.
So I was in my car, and the same gentleman that I was in that put the gun to my head and told me not to write to the president
sunglasses
were following my car, and I got into a very bad accident, and I wound up at the hospital.
And who did you call?
Well, who else am I going to call? I mean, I have to call the only person I have, and that's
you got it, baby.
That's who I called.
To talk to the doctor so that they didn't give him a CAT scan and sedate him. What did the policeman say that got in from the 19th? Boy, they know it was very well there.
Well, I guess he knew who I was because I was on a stretcher, and so was another gentleman that was there with me.
And what did he say to you?
He looks at me, and he says, "Boy, Dr. D's going to be very upset."
She was. Not only was Dr. D upset,
so when
but the wife was also upset.
So when I heard that, and the emergency attendant there was going to inject me to sedate me, I said, no, I don't think so.
That's probably...
Don't do that, please.
That's probably why the other two incidents happened. Same year. We go from February 28th, now we go to April 28th, 1994. What happened?
Is that the Boston incident?
That's the Boston nightmare.
Right.
Sounds like we're about to hear about the Boston incident. Matthew Fuller pointing out in chat, they laugh like James Bond villains. Okay, let's go back and hear about the Boston incident from Raul.
What happened, Raul?
Well,
again,
I'm driving my cab. That's upsetting to me because I feel that I'm a bit more than a cab driver. It's not what I'm doing now. You won't allow me to do that. We have to fight back. And they've taken everything we've got, T. You know that.
Hey, they even take my phone calls, so I can't book appointments. They're wonderful, our government. There's a security clearance number on my 988 number.
I know that, but
you have to have a code to get into it.
You
at the telephone company and the computer.
You say that to someone, and they think you're crazy, and I know you're not crazy.
So does my audience. I've been answering their questions for more than 10 years. That was before you were even on the scene.
Right. No, I understand. I mean,
okay.
I just,
I'm not crazy. I couldn't tell you what kind of children you had without knowing you. And you've been calling for help for 10 years. And we do a free phone clinic on Wednesday nights for you. We've done that for 9 years.
I feel the same way I feel during the press conference, which is that I can tell these people what's going on and what's happened, but I also know deep in my heart that unless they've read the doc, unless they know what's in the doc, they'll have a hard time believing it.
Well, there's an internal affairs report for
But that
this
doesn't
month.
prove anything, Dave.
No, but
there's an internal affairs
but
report.
wait a minute.
There are
Why should it
police
happen?
reports.
Why should it happen?
happens. It happens because they don't want anyone to know that that spirit is going to crash that airplane.
I don't believe they want anybody else to know that the Emperor of Japan is taking over the country.
Okay, so
you
you
didn't
want,
buy it.
All day today we've been driving around and you've been wanting to get at the Emperor. You want to get into...
Fine. Let's go to December 15th, the Ides of December, 1994. What happened, Raul?
Well, why don't we talk about what happened December, or was it?
April 28th.
No, not the 28th. Forget about the fact that I was kidnapped. That's not...
How many times this year?
It's happened... It's happened that I've been taken overnight twice, and I was taken again that one time and placed on the train. And I know they wanted me to say something about
December 7th, 93.
Let's go back to World War II, which is what really started this whole thing.
Go ahead. Go back to it.
We nuked Japan.
I was a little girl. Nobody asked me if we could drop 2 bombs. They didn't ask me about one.
And I say we because I consider myself an American.
You
we
are?
nuked Japan twice.
Puerto Rico still is a territory.
I'm a Puerto Rican, and you know me, Dee.
I know you.
I can say you're a white lady, I say.
Caucasian,
when we talk, Marge Shaw can say that someone's a nigger. Well, at home, I don't say things like that in public because, or on the air because I don't think it's the right thing to do.
It isn't.
But I call you a white lady. And Michael here and John, our cameraman, white
They're
white
called
men.
Caucasians.
Okay, Caucasian, I know that.
Okay.
I consider myself a Puerto Rican. And
what color is that?
Well, you tell me that I'm white. I say I'm brown or olive.
As far as I see, you're only a shade or two
It's
on
not.
the other side of mine.
But
What color do you call it? In between white and black is brown?
well, I've seen white Puerto Ricans, Esteem.
Oh, you mean the blonde hair?
That
I've
are
seen
blonde
too.
hair and blue-eyed.
Sure.
And there's racism
And
in Puerto
the
Rico
same
between the
family.
Puerto Ricans
I've seen
themselves.
one that is black and one that had brown hair, and they go back.
But let's go back to World War II, Dee.
Go ahead.
Let's go back to World War II.
Go ahead to World War II.
We want to end the war, basically, and we nuked Japan twice.
August
the second
5th
time,
and
3
August
days
9th.
later.
August 6th and August 9th.
Now, we have to understand when we say we nuked Japan, that it wasn't just a piece of land that we nuked. We nuked mothers and fathers having picnics.
Excuse me.
With their
A,
children.
you weren't born.
It
And
doesn't
B,
matter.
I was a little girl.
But that's
this
not the
was
issue.
not the act of the whole United States of America.
Well, I'm going to get into that, Esteem. I'm going to get into that.
Please do.
Their soldiers are fighting a war on a piece of land that I consider neutral, or that's considered neutral, okay, where they can both fight. And when we go to their backyard and do what we did to them, because we got upset that they hit Pearl Harbor,
Yeah, it was kind of sneaky.
okay, and if you're going to do...
I'm really enjoying the comments in the chat. I can't even keep up with them and mention them all, but they're really funny. Dane Fagerholm, I don't know if you're just joining us, but you're saying thanks for the watch party. These people confuse me. Are they talking about ghosts or aliens? Dane, if you're joining us late, they're talking about all kinds of things. There were ghosts that were poking the baseball player Don Mattingly with some kind of pitchfork or something in the back. I think right now we're about to hear about the Emperor of Japan. We've been hearing about Men in Black. We've been hearing about a mysterious CIA helicopter. We've been hearing about lasers being shot by the CIA across from their apartment building. It's kind of hard for me to even summarize everything that we're hearing about. But let's see. Ramey Winter says, do they believe in reptiles? Well, Ramey, we'll see if they get into reptiles. Leslie Allen saying, London here. What are these guys talking about? I came in a little, that sounds explosive. Yeah, it just, Leslie, it's kind of all over the place. It started off, for those of us that have been watching from the beginning, it starts off relatively calm, but it's just sort of compounding the conspiracies and the furor of these two. Here we go. This is again Dr. Estine Del Rio Diaz with her husband Raul, talking about all the crazy things that happened to them in their lives.
Do something like that, you at least tell people, listen, the reason why we nuked you the second time is because we were upset at what you did to us, with Pearl Harbor.
They don't do that.
Of course they don't do that.
It's not considered diplomatic.
But the emperor who had to sign the treaty, or
Mr. Emperor Hirohito.
Emperor Hirohito, right?
Hirohito.
So now they have another emperor. And that emperor is very upset that we did that to them. That we
Everybody
nuked
else has
them.
been
Not the first
too.
time. They can understand the first time. They can understand
An
the
act
first
of war.
one. It's an act of war.
The
You don't
second
call
one's
up
an
your
act of
enemy.
revenge.
In an act of war, you don't call up your enemy and tell him, listen, I'm going to do this.
No.
You do it. That's why it's acceptable. The first one is acceptable. You want to nuke them in their backyard, do it. But the second one is staying... The second one?
Listen,
That was an act of the devil. I don't care.
I know it was an act of the devil.
And it came from the White House.
But insurance companies don't insure you for an act of the devil.
Who was president?
Only an act of God.
President when Japan
Harry
got
Truman, and he had a psychological problem.
Then I sit here.
He was filling Roosevelt's shoes.
I sit here as your husband and as a spiritualist and tell you that he was possessed when he made that call. Because that call has got this country now in serious trouble. They're very upset at that second bomb. And it's because of that second bomb that they're taking over this country. It's what you did behind it that upsets me even further. They have their little Game Boys. They have their Game Boys. And then people wonder why you would open up your mouth about it. Well, no one else is. No one else is. You can't expect people on ABC or NBC that are being sponsored by Pampers or Coca-Cola or many of these other products to talk about it. Although they're all in it. Geraldo Rivera, Barbara Walters, every single one of them. If that plane crashes,
that's why she took away that story.
Yes, 2020 was documenting the exorcism of Don Mattingly. They were documenting it. Barbara Walters got a phone call from George Steinbrenner. Barbara Walters got a call from George Steinbrenner and told
kill Rob Wallace's
kill the story, and that's exactly what they did. Rob Wallace got very upset, and he gave us our documentation.
Validation.
He gave us our validation through signature.
Yeah, he said,
so this stands up in any court of law
to validate what you guys have told me.
Our story has already been out in 7 different newspapers across the country about Don Mattingly and the Yankees needing this exorcism, or the plane is going to crash and kill the entire team. It's going to happen, replacement players or not. But getting back to Japan, okay, I say they have a very good reason to be upset with America.
But to take it a step
further than that, Esteem, excuse me, Esteem, please, let me, Esteem, I want to get back to the president and the 2 generals that made that call. They were not Puerto Rican, and they certainly weren't black men either.
No, they weren't. Okay? They were all 3 white.
There were 3 white men who made that call to bomb Japan the second time.
That's why
that was an act of the devil.
That's why we know that.
That was an act of the devil.
I agree, but the insurance companies don't insure you for that.
Okay.
Only an act of God, Raul. But that's also why we have $120 billion deficit
I just want you to understand
with Japan.
I have to let these people know why I feel that it's important that they understand,
tell them about
even if I'm Puerto Rican.
Whew, so much to unpack here. I'm trying to keep up on the chat. Nick, it sounds like Nick, who actually literally just called his uncle Ron Guidry, who had been with the Yankee organization back when Don Mattingly was there, says that Ron was very confused as to what he was asking about Don Mattingly. Again, if you're just tuning in, we learned from Raul that Mattingly had some sort of ghost who came out of the dugout in his underwear and was poking Mattingly in the back with some kind of pitchfork or something. But Nick says his uncle Ron Guidry did say that his ERA was up around then, so maybe he got stabbed by the demon too. So there you go. Okay, we'll keep going here. Let me just see. Remy Winter says maybe they were predicting 9/11. Oh, who knows? Matthew Fuller says they make about as much sense as Professor Irwin Corey. And Leslie Allen is saying, always good to hear my name across the pond. Hello across the pond, Leslie. I love it. They're very passionate, aren't they? Yes, they are very passionate. Let's see. William says she's trying to ask him things to support him, and he's saying things she agrees with, but they are actively talking as if they are arguing over each other. How strange. Yeah, they did have a very odd communication between the two of them, William. Let's go back. This is the amazing Dr. D with her husband, Raul, talking about some of the crazy incidents that they secretly knew of and are sharing here with us.
No, I'll get into that a little later. Why I feel very strongly about the fact that that they have to understand that it was a white man who made that call, because for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, which means that if it was a white man that got our country into these problems that we are now documenting, it's going to take a white man to reverse the energy and stop it. It can't, it's not a black man or Puerto Rican. It has to be a white man in power that can say, wait a minute, I recognize that this is true, that this is really happening, and we can still do something about it.
Julius Caesar doesn't listen to his wife.
That's why I
Bill
felt that
Clinton doesn't listen
important.
to Hillary, and you don't listen to me, and you're Puerto Rican.
Okay.
So we know it's not going to be you.
You want to get into Colin Ferguson? Let's get into
Get in
Colin
Colin
Ferguson.
Ferguson.
Again, you...
December 7th.
I was told not to write to the president, okay? Mm-hmm. The Colin Ferguson incident
I wrote to his wife.
Before that.
It happens after you were told, and I wrote.
I'm sorry?
Yes, you were taken the first time with the gun
That
in
was-
the summer of '93. This is in winter, December 7th.
Right.
Thursday. Okay. I know, I lived through it. Nobody implanted me the second kidnapping. I've been implanted. Not now and not ever. And I've broken yours, but your memory synapses are a little deep.
Well, you know,
Let's go to December 7th,
you pretty much told the whole media
1993.
that I'm implanted, Estine, and...
Well, I got rid of him, but Colin Ferguson was implanted,
Yes, he was.
and so were you.
Yes, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
That's where you were for 2 damn days.
Okay.
Of course I'm angry.
And for
Wouldn't you
those-
be if your government took your husband? He didn't leave me for a woman 30 years younger. The government picked him up, snatch, and took him and implanted him. He has 2 days out of his life that I know about because I hypnotized him. We can't do that, you know. But you still don't have conscious memory of it.
I don't. And
Okay.
I don't...
So now let's talk about another man that saw 2 Colin Fergusons and why he saw them. Let's go talk about Colin Ferguson. December 7th. Pearl Harbor Day, guys. 1993.
I was taken again out of my car, and I was stun gunned. And it was a black 4-door sedan.
How many men?
Again, 3 men. These
How many
were-
white?
These 2 white men and an Oriental.
And an Oriental, okay. Before the rest of them were... the first group, the one with the guns to your head, in the 93, white?
Right, 3 white men. And then...
And the one Colin Ferguson, 2 white and an Oriental, right?
yes,
Then came the 3 in April 28th, Thursday morning.
2 white and a black man.
2 white and a black man, that was
Yes.
December 15th.
I don't remember the dates very
Oh, I do. That was the last one. You told me about the black man.
Remember, I'm implanted, so...
No, you have a memory lapse.
Memory lapse is
I'll have to
okay.
do do time warps with Colonel Kirk a little later on. Because it's that kind of thing that they think we're talking about. But it's really going on. It's called high-tech technology. I'll take care of your time warp. Don't worry about it. I got rid of the implants. Go ahead. What'd they do?
So they, again, they took me out of my car, and they made me sit in the back seat of this other car, this black 4-door sedan, and I was stun gunned. And I assumed that I was immediately drugged or something, because the next thing you know, I'm on the train.
Were you climbing the stairs or were you on the train?
I was on the train.
You were on the train.
That's all I remember, being on the train, just
Okay.
just like in the movies. I mean, I would remember the station. I would
Time
remember
lapses, I
climbing up
understand.
the stairs.
I understand.
All I know is that I'm on the train.
Okay, you're on the train. What happened then?
The Oriental man says to me,
Where were the 2 white men positioned?
on my side, on my right side, I'm here, like in the middle.
And who's in front of you?
The Oriental man is to my left.
In front?
Yes, right in front. Calling
Which
us down.
car were you on this train?
Well, again, a lot of importance was made to that. The 3rd car, the 2nd car. I don't know if I was in the last car. All I know, I was in the car. Okay,
You told me
so
it was the 3rd car.
then there you go again with the memory lapses, because I don't remember. I don't remember if it was the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. I mean, I just know that I was in the car. That's
I
all
remember.
I can.
Nobody.
Nick Dominique is saying she's very concerned about the race of the kidnappers. I think this might be tied because they keep referring to Oriental, which should be Asian, but and I'm guessing that they're tying in the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is somehow why this Asian man was with the men in black confronting Raoul. But hopefully we'll get to this. I will see.
Nobody's
That's
brainwashed me.
that's.
I have an excellent memory for kidnappings. I've gone
So I
through
must have
a
told
few of
you.
them.
So I must have told you that.
Oh, yeah, you did. I lived with this one for 14 months before we went back out to see Mr. Ferguson and talk about it.
Do you remember me telling you if
Yeah,
I
you told
climbed
me.
the stairs or anything like that? Because
You told me
again,
you came to consciousness on the last step. You remember you put one foot up beside another,
Really?
and we're taken into the car. That's what you told me. I remember it as if it were yesterday.
Well.
And in my mind, it was.
Okay. So the Oriental man, and first of all, you have to understand that the train is packed, and to understand that Colin Ferguson is a victim, you have to understand that he would have to be, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm standing there and I'm being told by this Oriental to look at the black man that's sitting over there.
How far away from you approximately?
He was far away.
He was far away?
He takes out the so-called remote control, okay, and I call it a remote control because it's exactly how it operated, and he pressed the button.
What did it look like?
A remote control. Why even bother to get into that? A remote control, yes.
Right.
Your basic
Black?
TV. It's,
Basic black?
yes, with buttons on it.
Buttons on
and
it,
he pressed
okay.
the button, and Colin Ferguson went to sleep.
Okay.
I just want to catch everyone up here on Colin Ferguson. If you're not familiar with the story, especially if you're outside of the country or even outside of New York, I don't know how big this story was, but it was this awful situation where there were a bunch of people on a crowded commuter train on the Long Island Railroad, and there was this guy Colin Ferguson who opened fire in the train, and a number of people unfortunately lost their lives. And Colin Ferguson ended up representing himself in court, and was the whole scene was just really crazy and awful. Anyway, Raul is claiming that he was on the train with Colin Ferguson and just said that he saw Colin fall asleep. I think he's trying, from what I'm gathering, he's defending Colin Ferguson. And saying he was falsely accused in this rampage.
Did you see anything else besides Colin Ferguson go to sleep?
Yes, I saw the white man that he's been saying was the real gunman and he's not. He was not the real gunman. The man that was sitting next to him went into Colin Ferguson's bag.
Okay.
I had no idea there was a gun in there or that there was a gun going to be pulled out.
I'm sure that it was on a need-to-know basis.
So when...
And you didn't need to know right then.
Well, I knew eventually, believe me. So the Oriental gentleman again presses the remote control, and he wakes up Colin. But he's in a daze. Okay, so he sees the other man's hand in his bag, and he reaches into his bag, and they start struggling for something. So Colin comes out with his gun, and he's doing this motion. He's like moving away from the white man. I forgot his name. Colin mentions him a million times. He's moving away from this white man, and then there's another man directly in front of Colin who pulls out a gun and is about to shoot Colin. And then the bullets start to fly, and then Colin gets up, and he just starts to walk down the aisle shooting people, doom, 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 just like that. But there was another gun there, and it was pointed right at Colin Ferguson.
Okay, and what was the man?
And I
that
can't believe no one
doing?
saw that. But then, of course, if you're on the train and you hear bullets flying, you're not going to turn around and look at Colin. That's why I also have a problem with the prosecution's case. They could not have possibly seen what Colin said they saw, what they claimed they saw. Everybody was running the other way.
Raul, do you remember telling me what else you saw that caused Colin Ferguson to say there were two Colin Fergusons? Do you have memory of that?
Yes, well, I see spirits.
Okay.
And I saw Colin's spirit still sitting at that chair, still sitting there, while his body got up and started walking around shooting people.
Now, I know that's hard to swallow, but if you are a spiritualist and have the gift of discerning of spirits, which is in Corinthians 1:12-4, you will see spirits. And that is the reason. It's a logical explanation for the intangible. Why Colin Ferguson said there were two Colin Fergusons. He who was out of body, because when the Oriental stunned him with a laser, he also lasered the spirit in to get the body up to start moving around and shooting. That's called possession. And they can do it high-tech now. I know.
And they're using Nintendo. Japan's just a little island. I'm not prejudiced. I'm not prejudiced towards Oriental people. I know that these are the calls of just a few men. 3 men can change the world, just like our president and his
Bush
two
grab Noriega. Maybe
like
Clinton should go and grab the
and
emperor.
his 2 generals many years ago in 1945. Well, all it takes is another 3 men. The emperor, 2 of his sideshow kicks. 2 of his buddies. 2 of his buddies, and Mr. Yamauchi, the owner of Nintendo, and they're using Nintendo which has only been around for 10 years,
They
to
retired it.
destroy our country.
They know
How are they
virtual
doing
boy.
it? They've got all the kids playing it, getting
It's
it.
addictive, I know.
Yes, but it's also subliminally programmed to have you do things like
Excuse me.
kill your mother,
Christmas.
don't go to
Let's go
school,
to Christmas,
do
1992.
drugs.
You bought the game with the Tetris cartridge.
Okay, and we
Game
played
Boy.
it. I had no idea that it was programmed the way that it was programmed. But I picked it up. I was going to give it away to someone, and I decided I wanted to play with it. And when the music started, you
Started screaming.
You immediately started
Turn it off. It's programmed.
started telling me it's there's something wrong with it. And our spirits told us, and Father God, who is the number one God. I mean, there was only
Now,
one
our God is definitely
You know,
the one and only.
of course,
our Father who art in heaven.
but our God is the same God that Japan
Don't tell
has.
that to the
They
Japanese.
don't know it.
They're
But
not
they just
going
don't
to
know
listen
it.
to you.
There's only one
They
God.
don't believe in one God. They have gods,
I know that.
unfortunately.
I know that.
We will be going to a break, and then you will come back to this interview, battle, conversation, because Raul and I do this all the time. What you're seeing here is what goes on at home. We are either arguing, battling, discussing, talking, and once in a while we work together. And when we do that, we work very quick and very fast, because Speedy Gonzalez over here happens to be a good spiritualist. I don't always agree with what he has to say, but he has the right to say it, as I have the right to say what I feel. You have the right to say what you feel. Your culture doesn't usually allow women to say anything. My culture does.
Well, under these circumstances, it does not
Well, it does not what?
allow women to say anything.
I wouldn't say
Hillary wanted to say something. Hillary went with our documentation to the Pentagon. She wanted to address this. What was Hillary doing at the Pentagon 4 days after receiving our
Well, I know
documentation?
she was trying to help.
She wasn't there to have
She was
coffee.
trying to
She
help.
wasn't there to have coffee.
I know she was
and
trying to
she's
help.
going crazy now. I thought, she's jumping on the president every night.
That's why she screams at
Of course,
Bill.
that's why, because Bill, he's in the middle of this.
Hey, he's a
in the
man.
middle of this.
He's a man. He gets sharp in this stick too, being the president. I wish he'd do a Bush and go in and grab the emperor and let's try him for some of these crimes. There's your man. I give Bush credit for running in and grabbing Noriega.
I mean, did you tell
regardless
your
what his
audience we were at the
reasons
White House that
No.
we were there, that we did address the Don Mattingly's exorcism and the plane crash, and that if the president did nothing about it.
We'll tell him that when we come back from our break.
Well, I just want to.
We're here live at 505-6363, and we will be back with you. And my husband, Raul, and a lot of interesting stories, because, boy, do we have them in this 7 years of documentation called For the Good of Mankind and in the Best Interest of Baseball, America, in God We Trust. And we do. I wish the rest of you did. I wish you believed there was one, and also a devil.
Did you know Dick Grayshaw's courtroom does not have In God We Trust anymore?
What does it have?
It has nothing. It's
Nothing?
just a plain
Oh,
wall.
wonderful.
So they're taking out In God We Trust
Out of landlord and tenant's court? Why? They really didn't want to give us a chance, did they?
Should I put in a motion to get a courtroom?
Make a motion.
To
The
get a
pro se
courtroom,
law
to get a
offices.
courtroom that has In God We
Del
Trust
Rio
on it?
Diaz and Monca.
I wonder if
Put
it's
in.
against the law not to have In God
I
We
don't
Trust in
think
the
so. I've
courtroom.
seen in other courtrooms.
Right.
We'll be back with you when we come back from our break. Stay tuned.
Wow. It took a while to get to that break. I think if I heard correctly, at one point, he was saying that Nintendo Game Boys are instructing people to kill their mothers. I think I heard that at one point. Your comments are really extraordinary tonight. Michael tomorrow is saying, do they know they're full of it and playing along, or do they really think what they are saying is true? So, Michael, this was kind of the beauty of public access. It just was very free expression of anyone that wanted to do a show. So I believe that Dr. D and her husband Raul believed very much these things that they're saying. But that was also why it was kind of fun to do a show like Biond Vaudeville, because we would be side by side with shows like this, and just kind of in the mix of all of this kind of out there stuff. Daryl Maskey has a quote here from M. Vincent Hayes saying, "These two are nuts." Very funny, Daryl. And Linus Lundgren says, "I'll never look at my Nintendo the same way." Dirk Vandenberg says, "I've had fever dreams that made more sense than this." I've got a deadline tomorrow for half a dozen articles I'm writing, but I can't stop watching. Yeah, it is hard to stop watching this, Dirk, but they are winding down. And Amanda Lusk points out that Raul suspiciously looks like Mario from Nintendo. That's an interesting observation there. Let's see. They are scariest when they get along, says William. Public access was about free speech, says Ramey Winter. Yes, and this was an example of free speech at its finest. Mel Brewer says, I wish Christopher Guest did a movie on public access shows. Yeah, it does seem ripe for that. We'll go back. I want to thank everyone for joining tonight. If you're joining late, we're watching a public access show from 1996, the Dr. D show, the amazing Dr. D show it was called. Dr. D, who we see on the screen right now, was the host. Her producer and her guest on this particular episode was her husband, Raul Diaz. And we're going to go back in just a second. I just want to thank everyone who has contributed in Super Chats to help support all this and digitizing all these tapes of classic public access shows. Thanks to Shenzhen. Thanks to Nick Dominique. Thanks to Buttermilk Jug. Steven Singer, thank you. And Easy Wages, thank you. So let's go back and see a little more of Dr. D and her husband, Raul.
And we are live at 505-6363 to take your calls, your questions, and also to let you know what happened with the Colin Ferguson incident. We have with us the man that was on the train, my husband, Raul Diaz. The time frame, Raul, is December 7th, 1993.
I think we've already addressed that.
Yeah, well, when did they take you off the train?
Immediately afterwards.
And then what did they do?
That's why I know that...
What did they do?
Oh, they drove me home.
And what did they say when they got you home?
Well, you use the, again...
You can use profanity in a quote.
Use it.
Okay,
I can say it without having to say it.
Why don't you quote it verbatim?
That's one of the things I want you to understand. If it's my responsibility to take the national... Stop saying those words on the air.
I didn't say them, the government did. I'm only quoting.
If you're going to tell your audience that this is how we talk at home all the time...
We don't.
But we do. And it's healthy. It's healthy for our relationship. But don't say it.
Quote the government.
The government...
What do they say to you?
That's what happens with people who... with the government. And if people don't know what that means, I'm...
The F word.
That's it.
It's the F word.
That's it.
Virtual F with the government.
So that entire Colin Ferguson incident was a demonstration for me.
I don't believe so. I don't believe that.
I know what you believe.
You're in also. I believe they were going to do that anyhow because Colin Ferguson kept saying that he had problems. So my feelings are that they decided, well, as long as we're going to do this anyhow, let's throw in Raul Diaz and his documentation. After all, she wrote to Lady Hillary, the presidentress of this country. So let's take him and do something with that.
I want the audience to understand how this works.
Tell them about it.
It's a bunch of letters that became a book. It's real. It's a bunch of letters to the most powerful people in this country.
The ones that are blocking the documentation from getting out.
To try to get George Steinbrenner to allow us to get into Yankee Stadium to address that exorcism, to prevent the plane crash. That's what this is about. Okay? Now...
What did George Steinbrenner do? What did he do?
I have to, George wants to move the team. He wants to move to New Jersey. He wants to move to Tampa. That's the real reason why George wants to move. It has nothing to do with luxury boxes or fans or anything. It's because of that spirit that's on the field that he does not want to address.
And what about the other 5 running around the bases?
That's his problem, I'm sorry to say. That's his problem. Again, if I have these 2 books, and these 2 books do prove that we've met with some of the most influential people in this country. Janet Reno, the Attorney General.
We haven't met with her.
We haven't met with her,
but we've addressed her.
But we've addressed her. Okay? We write a letter.
7 years.
We write a letter. We write a letter. Let's see who we haven't addressed. No, this has to be addressed because I'm going to show these. I have to show them how it works. I have to show them how it works. We put this through the Xerox machine. Okay? There's a story being told here that does not have an ending yet. Now, the ending is, an exorcism with positive results, which
Don Mattingly?
is for Don Mattingly, which will allow us to then address, which will then allow us to address the problems that our country is facing. After we prove ourselves with Don Mattingly,
really
and we've
think-
never asked her.
do you really think they'd let us do that?
They're going to have to let us do it because we can take them to court too. I can sue Don Mattingly for the right to perform an exorcism on him. I've learned a lot in landlord and tenants court. As crazy as it sounds, I'm not a lawyer, but I know I can fill out a few papers and sue Don Mattingly for the right to perform an exorcism. And then,
Well, that's better than getting bought off.
I don't care who gets bought off. All I know is that they're going to ask me when I go to court, can you prove that Don Mattingly needs an exorcism? And I'm going to say, yes, I can. I have it right here in my hand.
That's true.
But before I give it to you, Your Honor, would you please sign for it? When the judge signs for my documentation and gives me a receipt, he pretty much signs in his entire legal system. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I understand what
so
you're saying.
everybody's
Now
in.
everybody understands
Because
what
now
you're saying.
he knows that a plane is
Now
going to
everybody-
crash. He knows that a plane is about to crash. What are his options, Esteem, knowing something like that? Well, I'm a judge.
He could go to the
Should I
Supreme
do
Court.
something about
He
it?
could go
Yes.
to the Supreme
Well,
Court.
he could, but he can definitely take it to someone that can do something about it before the plane crash happens. He has that obligation, and because he is a judge, he has the ability to do it.
Yes, he may not want to.
Well, that's his other choice. And what happens if he doesn't want to?
Wait till Judgment Day comes.
No,
because
but Judgment Day is going to come.
judges
Judgment
harder.
Day is going to come here for these people. Because
also.
when the plane crashes, a lot of people know about this by now.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
going to say, why didn't you address it, Judge? You are a judge.
What
Why
about
didn't you
George?
address
What about Faith Vincent?
each and
What about
every single one of
Sports
those people?
Illustrated,
Barbara
ABC,
Walters,
Barbara Walters.
Geraldo Rivera, they all know about this. And when that plane crashes, I've said it once and I'm going to say it a million times.
Raul followed you. When
Esteem, it's not my favorite saying.
I know.
But when that plane goes down, each and every single one of those people are going with it. Or
They are in a position, aren't they?
or they're intending that we go first.
Well, I would believe that's their intention.
That's what their intention is.
That's why Manhattan Pacific Management Company
that's why they're
wants to come in
Yes,
on
I
Thursday
know that.
and have us have an accident. Electrical fire.
No.
bathroom.
It's just below the toilet, not the toilet bowl. The bathtub. Okay. So if they come back and they claim to have fixed it, and they can only take one of the three of us out, so they'll figure out which one, because they can only create one accident. I mean, if the wall, if the bowl, if the person upstairs, if the person upstairs fills up if the person upstairs,
report on our roof.
if the person upstairs fills up the bathtub with water, okay,
Are you gonna tell them
and
how to do this
then
now?
it goes down and kills
Remind me not
someone
to have you
who's
on for another
taking a
show.
shower, right?
Yeah.
They can easily go to court and to the police department and say, well, you know, we just fixed it and it's an accident. I'd be screaming if it were you or Steffi. No, it wasn't an accident. They did it on purpose.
Hey, I
and this
screamed,
is why.
and I
okay.
screamed,
But they still feel.
The FBI wouldn't take them for police
But they
report.
still feel that this is not going to get out. That they're powerful enough to prevent this from getting out because you're just a cable, a Channel 16 cable TV
Cable
host,
TV, that's all.
hostess, and
I
I'm
still
some
have a voice. I'm one of the little
34-year-old
people.
Puerto Rican.
I'm still one of the
who
little people, but
came
I have
out
a
of
voice.
nowhere and wound up at 30 East End Avenue with you, and they've yet to put me on the lease, but I'm going to put in a motion for that one also, because I
You
am
should
your
be on the
husband.
lease, that's
I've
right.
been married to you for 8 years, and we've pretty much begged these people to honor me by
Your
putting my name
contract.
on the lease. Well, I don't want you to put my name on the lease anymore, Mr. Macklow, unless I choose to take you to court, which I do have, which I am doing, which I'm in the process of doing right
Mr.
now.
Macklow is
to
Manhattan
have my name on the
Management
lease. But I promise you, 30 East End Avenue, that entire building is going to belong to me one day. The whole building will belong to me. And remember, I said it here. And I have another message. You know, I didn't get out everything that I wanted to get out. But Father God does talk to me, just like George Burns and John Denver in the movie Oh God. Okay? Father God appears to me just like that, just like George Burns in the movie. And he wants me to tell all of you this, that if Judge Belfi, knowing that there was a witness in the other room who could collaborate,
You weren't allowed to talk to him.
I was not allowed to talk to him. I was not. They knew what I was going to say. They knew. They kept me in that courtroom for 2 hours. They told Belfi, this man claimed.
Meeks Puffs in chat is just asking, just tuned in and my audio is muted. What is Antonio Banderas arguing about? Meeks Puffs, I can't even start to explain what we've been watching and hearing here. I see in chat some people are making an attempt. All-Star Nucleus says something about airplanes and Satan. Yes, airplanes, Satan, ghosts, George Steinbrenner, Don Mattingly, the Men in Black. There's a lot going on. It'd be impossible for us to catch you up. Let's see. And Michael Tomorrow saying, I can't take them much longer. Raimi Winter says, I find them very interesting. Yeah, I think let's just take a look at just a little more, and then we'll move on from Dr. D. Dr. D's show was an hour, which was longer than the typical public access show. It was typically a half hour, but let's just see what else Raul has to wrap up with here.
That he's got proof, and I had my proof there with me, that Ferguson was used as a demonstration for something totally out of their reality. Ferguson picked up Belfi picked up the phone, called CIA headquarters, and they told him, Diaz, make sure he doesn't get on the stand, because he can certainly prove that the CIA did this. Now remember, my brother works for the CIA. He's a top gun at CIA headquarters. So when I tell you I know what the CIA has done, can do, yes, they have hitmen that go to Colombia and boom, take out a drug dealer. They have those people, and these people are supposed to be working for our government. They do that. Why do I know they do that? Well, you know, I have a brother who works there, I'll say that much.
I have a husband who's been kidnapped.
I mean, that's all.
Twice, and apprehended and abducted and put on a train with Colin Ferguson. So that's 3, and put in the hospital once between December and December. 93 to 94, December to December, 7th through the 19th. I didn't get him back the 19th the last time. So I know what he's talking about. I hope to God you never do, but if you do, if it can happen to me and mine, it can happen to you and yours.
So let that be a lesson to you. It can happen to you and yours. So that was the amazing Dr. D. Had a weekly show. The question was asked in chat, did they have guests on? Not typically. Typically, it would be Dr. D talking and taking phone calls sometimes. And there were some crank phone calls. I'll have to see if I can find those at some point. Nick Dominique is saying she was actually a behavioral psychologist. Yeah, and I was talking with our Beyond Vaudeville director yesterday, Stephen Korn, about Dr. D, and we often will get into these conversations like, oh, whatever became of that person, and we didn't know what became of Dr. D, so we looked it up, and a very strange ending to Dr. D. Don't know how Dr. D died, but Dr. D did die in September 2021 at the age of 88, and ended up being buried on Hart Island. Hart Island is a place in New York City where they bury people who are unclaimed or don't have funds. It's an odd cemetery in New York, and that is where Dr. D wound up. Again, dying at age 88. So William is asking, do you take suggestions for public access shows to watch? Sure. Yeah. I mean, chances are I've got video of shows if they were in the 80s or 90s. And I hope you enjoyed that. I know it was strange. It was a bit of a departure. It wasn't our usual, comedians or singers. But it was just such a peculiar show that I thought you might enjoy watching that as something a little different. Raimi Winter says you loved it. William loved it. Good. Thank you. Glad you enjoyed it. I'm just going to show you 2 other people in this vein quickly. And let me call them. So again, there were a lot of tele-psychics and that kind of thing. And this was Biond Fury. I'll just show just a tiny bit. That was his name, by the way, Biond Fury.
Listen to the window, like the devil on the street. Though I tried to surrender, you know it doesn't change a thing. When I lay my
Hello there, my name is Biond Fury, and during the next half hour, you're experiencing a live psychic telecast coming to you directly from New York City. I invite you to call in today and answering one question per caller. I've been doing psychic work for the last many years, at least probably 20 or more years, since I was a teenager, and during the last 15 years or so, experiencing the live telecast on the air that you're watching now. I'm also very interested in knowing, as a metaphysician and psychic, the experiences that you have had, since this is an interactive telecast. Our energy is going, positive energy is going out to you, communication is going out to you, and information is going out to you. I would like for you also to, when you do call in, be prepared to have some kind of interaction or something to say in regard to your spiritual experience and your the growing process you're going through. And as we all know, as we're all coming to learn more and more about the spiritual world and the physical world are intertwined, and the more we get in touch with these two worlds, with one foot in the spiritual world and one foot in the physical world, the more powerful we become, the more successful we become, and the more attuned we become to our destinies. So the studio number, of course, you have there, 247-8090. I welcome your call. And during the next several months, I'll be also expressing and sharing a lot of my own creative work, which is coming out in other levels with music, film, animation, and other creative ideas, which I'll be sharing with you, because the creative world, the spiritual world, does express itself in many forms. We can be a doctor, a lawyer, or a psychic, or we can be an actor or a banker or whatever it may be, your chosen profession. You can interact on the spiritual level, the emotional and physical level with your, wherever you are in time and space, in your own place, if you will. Okay, hello there? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
How are you?
Very good. And you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you. My name's Richard.
How are you, Richard?
Very good. I'm asking you a question about, I'm trying to, considering selling an automobile.
May I have your birth date also, Richard, please?
August 9th, 1952.
August the 9th, yes. Let me also ask you as well, and everyone else watching out there, when you're trying to get the answer to a question, the most important thing we can do, our answer will follow, is to invoke positive energy. And over the many years, I've used what I call the white light meditation, for pulling white light down over you, surrounding yourself with a sphere of white light. And everyone, can you hold a second, Richard?
Sure.
Everyone watching also could do this as well. Gradually visualizing a sphere of white light around your whole body, and then bringing the white light down from your crown chakra to the base of your spine, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seeing each number of the chakras, vibrating each number as we go, then going up your spine, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, moving and circulating the white light, and then coming down once more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, to the base of your spine, then going up, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, to the crown chakra, coming down once more, finally, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That helps you to clear and
It's usually the women that.
That's all I had from that particular episode. I'll have to dig and find more. I know I had some footage of him getting crank called, and I think there also was there was one time he was on for many years, Biond Fury, and he at one point the lights just suddenly went out in the studio, and it was dark, and you could just kind of see a silhouette of him, and nothing fazed him. He just always kind of had that tone about him. Another thing that was interesting about Biond Fury is that somehow he wound up buying this psychedelic painted Bentley that had been owned by John Lennon. And he used to take out ads all the time in the Hollywood Reporter, like trying to sell it. I don't know what Biond Fury's story was. I think there was also a story about him buying some place down like in the French Quarter that had been like some kind of mansion or something. Biond Fury was a very curious dude for sure. This that we're going to see now, this is something called Uniquely You Now. This was Mickey Fantasy, the guy with the beard. And Mickey, I think he talks about alien abduction here.
They're always saying my time clock is ticking, referring, of course, to time for pregnancy. Men don't usually say that, but are you saying that you've foreseen your own death and you kind of know how many heartbeats you have?
Of course.
Okay, can you tell us about it?
Everybody knows I'm a man of purpose. I'm a man with a mission. I'm a man with presence. And when my mission is completed, when my purpose is fulfilled, then my clock is...
Is that why so many good people like Princess Diana and like Kennedy and his wife and the Kennedy family seem to die young? It's that they live fast, they accomplish their purpose, and then the time is up, but they've really done more, say, in 30 years than somebody else might have done in 90?
Everyone has a specific destiny.
To get back to the accountant part of things, I used to be married to one, so the word accountant doesn't sound funny to me at all. But you were telling us before the show, because we were discussing writing poetry, because he writes poetry, and that's one of the things he does. And I write poetry, and it's one of the things I do and write and stuff. So he said to me that he knows pretty close how much each poem or each story or whatever he writes is going to be in words.
To the word.
Even a letter that he may
right.
write. Whereas with me, I just put myself into the hands of the force and I say, go, go, go. And whatever it is, and I do not have a good head for figures at all. So for me, it would be rather painful to try to put that kind of system to myself. So that just shows you that everyone's different. Everyone can be very good, but different.
Well, we could travel, we could sojourn two dominions. I'm not only an intellectual, I'm a dreamer. I'm not only a poet, I'm a philosopher. I'm not only a fantasian, I'm a realist. I'm capable of realizing my limitations and from there going forth and growing and evolving.
Well,
realizing my fate, so to speak.
I always said, excuse me, that everybody goes, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat.
You have a frog in your throat? Okay, we'll give Mickey a chance
Okay,
to talk.
so tonight, the fantasy man casts forth the eye of illumination on the submixture of the scintilla, opening a slipstream to the alchemy of the mystic and transcending the self. For you see, the mystic state is the state of the river, unrelenting, continuous. It flows and eddies. It has a life. It has an essence. It has a motion, a power, a sweep, a scope. It is not the state of the intellectual. It is not the state of the judgmental. It is not the state of the premeditated. The mystic state is the state of the one. It's the precognitive state. It's the state of the intuitive, the state of the instinctive, the state of the elemental, the state of the being of the essence.
Well, you know, you're in that state a lot of the time.
I'm just wondering how many of you that have been with us from the start of this stream are now saying, God, I wish Dr. D and Raul were back. Your comments are very funny. Keep them coming. If you're just joining us, we're looking at some classic public access. These are from the 1990s. This show was called Uniquely You Now. And this gentleman with the beard, who someone mentioned, called him ZZ Bottom in the comments. His name was Mickey Fantasy, and let's go back to watch a little more of Uniquely You now.
And it's no accident then that people that are in that state are much more likely to have experience like you've had. You're also a UFO abductee, right?
I believe that people who are sensitive to the cosmos, people who are sensitive to the dominions and the dimensions beyond our five senses, can have a multidigenous plethora of experiences, of activities, of revelations. Call them miracles if you please, if you will, if you care to. Call them nightmares, call them horrific.
Yeah, you had a nightmare. I'll never forget that nightmare you talked about when the 25 enemies came. Yes.
Visitors from the beyond, those little
you know,
people.
I just heard another theory. I mean, it fits in perfectly with psychology. Have you heard the dream theory? That what happens is, it's no accident that you said it happens in what we call hypnagogic state, like right when you're falling asleep or right when you're waking up. That, yeah, exactly. That sometimes the experiences in the body as the muscles let go of control is such that people will report hearing sounds that aren't there, hallucinating, feeling something on their chest, feeling something grab them, feeling something brand them. Sometimes they'll do something to themselves where they'll actually make a scratch or a bruise. And then they'll have the experience that it happened from some extraterrestrial being. But this is another scientific explanation, which if you ask me, I really believe that a lot more than that.
When they come to you from beyond, when you feel their presence,
but that's what happens during that stage.
With electricity and magnetism, when you feel your heart beating, pumping, breath in, breath out, when you feel the hairs on the nape of your neck stand askew, not a nightmare, a hellacious nightmare.
Yeah.
It sounds like...
But it's still a figment. It starts in your head. It doesn't start out in the other
It's not a matter of
galaxy
in
somewhere.
Your head. When it comes from the outside and it palpitates and touches your head and you feel 50 pairs of these little spindly things contorting with your cranium, with your cerebellum, with your cortex. It's not hallucination. It's not delusional. It
happened for a very long time with you. It wasn't just for a couple of minutes.
And it was more than one experience.
Yeah, I know, but the one you described was where you actually felt that there were 25 of them.
Not only I felt it, I saw them, I counted them, I saw that little rod that they had, something akin to this, maybe about that big.
Ah, what's that? That's your little...
This is what I found to show people about the tensor rod that they had.
Hey.
It had a glowing thing here that created an orange color, a red color, a gold color, a purple color, a blue color, and every color that it created elicited a different emotion.
Well, that's
from
like
me.
a laser beam.
It was like a beam, but it opened up small and it became bigger as it went. So they zapped me right between the eye, different colors. Each color made me emotionally respond to a different thing. One color made me cry like a baby. One color dried me out like I was a prune. One color made me freezing so I was shivering. One color made me hot so sweat was oozing off of my brow. They were talking to me telekinetically in my head.
Sounds like they really beamed you up.
Beamed in, not up.
They didn't beam you up, Mickey.
I was prone, sleeping in a futon bed. I thought my moments were numbered. I felt my heart beating out of my chest, beating out of my chest, beating out of my chest. I couldn't scream.
You said you were like frozen.
I was
paralyzed
with fear,
yeah.
Paralyzed with fright, paralyzed with inertia, paralyzed with sweat, paralyzed with the chills. I'm telling you, it should never happen to anybody. And one could say it was delusional. One could say I was in a sleep state. One could say I need therapy. What I say is that there are things between heaven and hell that we can't conceive of, that are beyond our mental comprehension, that science isn't the key, it isn't the answer, because today's magic is tomorrow's science, and that there's no way that the powers that be, that run the world, that run the country, that are part of the organ of the government, do not know what's happening out there with these visitors from the beyond come in on beams of light in
Well,
their
they said just recently the police
fashion.
reported it. A bunch of people were calling 911 in a certain town in Ohio, I think it was, and saying they saw this flash in the sky, and the police went out to investigate, and they actually saw
And they
a
tried
saucer
to-
that had landed.
They try to chase it down, I think.
Uh-huh.
And they panic, because if you hear their 911 reports, I heard it on a radio show, these guys were in a state of hysteria.
You mean the police?
The police were in a state of collapse, nervous collapse. One guy says, "My God, what is that?"
Wow.
He sounded like the bomb was coming, and you know, the ICBM missiles were coming in, and there was no place to run.
Yeah.
I mean, now you could say it's up here. I say they came in here.
Well, people tend to believe it when the police reported that they saw it too, because they see the police as very practical people who kind of dismiss
And you know, Gene,
the claims of the
if it
mystics.
happens to you, you believe it.
Yeah,
There's nothing on this earth that can dissuade
I
you
have
from
had
it.
I have had experiences though where I'll wake up, or I'm just about to wake up and I can't move because my muscles haven't woken up along with my brain, and I will actually feel like somebody's hitting me or touching me, and it's very real. One time I remember I used to be afraid of a lady who lived downstairs who used to hit the ceiling with the broom when the kids made noise, and one time I remember waking up and actually feeling that she hit me in the stomach with the broom, and I must have hit myself because my stomach really hurt. But I'm not saying that some creature from out of space did that to me. I look at the scientific
If
explanation.
some entity from beyond came into your bedroom and did it to you because of the context and the cortex of your mind and your psycho...
Why would they do it to me anyway?
Why would they do it to you? Why would they do it to anybody?
Yeah.
But they're collecting people. They're collectors. Okay? Don't ask me how I know this. I know this.
Well,
They're
they
collecting
usually
us.
pick people who are psychic to begin with, because they do deal with your mind telepathically. And I'll tell you, you know, you could say, well, how about these past life experiences that I kept reeling off
That's right.
until I stopped them? I was talking about all kinds of different eras that I lived in and so on, but I didn't even know they were past life experiences because I hadn't gone into that yet. I hadn't been exposed to that theory yet. And I kept writing these stories that were coming off my pen like no tomorrow, and I could not figure out where I got the material at all. It was just not like me whatsoever. Until I found out by going to a dream workshop one day and presenting it as, hey, now look at this dream. And they said, that's no dream, that's a past life experience. And from then on, I began to realize what I was doing. You don't do that exactly the moment you get up or anything, and it can come at any time. It can come in your dream state during the time that your body has recuperated and goes into that creative state, or it can come just as you're getting up in the morning, and suddenly you'll wake up and you'll realize that it was something, but what? And you're not hitting yourself. I don't wake up with marks on my body or anything, but I do come out with these stories.
No, but I mean for the people who wake up with brands and marks and all that.
If you wake up with
conceivable they
brands,
could have done that to themselves.
no, a brand would have to come from something, an instrument. Where are you going to get a triangular instrument? I'm a member of a UFO group, although I haven't attended for a while. And these people would come out with these burns on their bodies. So there was one time that for a couple of years, I had under my left breast, it began with an itchy feeling, so that I noticed it because it was itching. And I saw that it was a crescent-shaped mark, and it would not go away. It was
Why
nothing
couldn't it
like
have just been a skin irritation or something like that?
in a perfect crescent shape? Forget it.
Things happen like that.
But one day,
Gene, there's more between heaven and hell
But
than we can
one
conceive
day-
of.
no, but
You know what I
one,
mean? No matter how intelligent you are, and you're a brilliant entity, you're a genius, a giant among minds, no matter how intelligent you are, the
If you're joining us late, we are watching some public access, classic public access shows from the mid-1990s these are. This is Uniquely You Now. This gentleman is Mickey Fantasy with the hat. May Eisenberg is the woman on the other side. I'm sorry, I'm not sure of the woman's name who's actually interviewing. Let's see, May is a nutritionist psychic awareness, as SR3 points out. Anyway, if you are enjoying what you're seeing, please participate in the super chat. I want to thank those who did contribute tonight to help with this production. It's Shenzhen. I want to thank you. I want to thank Nick, Dominique. I want to thank Buttermilk Jug, Steven Singer, and Easy Wages. Thank all of you for participating in the super chat, and thanks everybody for just joining us in general and participating. Your comments have been very funny tonight. Alistair's Midnight Troubled Mind says, wow, Rich, I've been hoping you would do this. I knew you just had to have one hell of a collection. I'm enjoying these. Yes, I have a very big collection of these public access shows from the 80s and 90s. A lot in New York, but other parts of the country as well. And slowly in the process of digitizing them, and happy to share them with you. Okay, let's take a look and go back now to Uniquely You Now with Mickey Fantasy, who seems to be making a point right now.
The level of your intelligence is 0.0001% of the universe. Now, there's a lot more of the universe, cosmically, infinitely, majestically, magically, manifestly,
That we don't know
that
about.
we can't even conceive of.
Makes
because
sense.
our brain can't comprehend beyond our intelligence.
Let's get
If
back.
it's not in a lexicon of understanding, it's not in a sphere of influence.
I want you guys out there to know that there's an end to my crescent-shaped mark, because no matter what I did, it wouldn't go away.
Yes.
It was there, it was red, and my skin is quite white. One fine day, I had a dream experience, I'm beginning to call them sometimes, where I saw this crescent-shaped UFO situation come down and pull something up off the ground that I was painting at their instructions. And I said, why, that's crescent-shaped like that thing, you know?
And then it was gone.
And it was gone, and then in a day or two, the mark went with it. I healed
funny.
immediately.
It's
How the heck
fantastic.
did you do that? After
Unusual.
after several years.
But
So I know that they probably marked me for some reason, and then came back
they're
and collected.
collectors.
Yeah,
Okay? The visitors from the beyond are collectors.
yeah.
Don't ask me why, what their purpose is. I would say only the higher echelon of the governments know what the real reason is, because it couldn't happen unless there was some sort of communion between the leadership of the world and the world organizations and the entities that visit this planet, that have visited this planet, that are visiting this planet, the ones that were in biblical times, the ones that were in times 50 years ago, the ones here now, and the ones that are coming.
Who said they have a lifespan like Earthlings do? Maybe the ones from biblical times are still around. You know, they could they seem so bright they could have a 2,000 or 3,000 year lifespan.
It's possible that
Yeah.
their life is infinite, and our life is only measured in moments.
See, their life may have nothing to do with linear time as we know
And
it.
they may
Exactly.
be following our souls through each epoch
What
of
about
time.
people breaking the time barrier? You know, May had brought up something
Yeah.
that you said when you were younger. I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I'll bring it up anyway. You used to look at little pictures of John saluting his father's coffin and everything, and you always
Oh, it
had a
always
sense that he
bothered
was
me.
not real, that there wasn't the
never
substance
felt
there that
real
you
to
saw with
me.
the other Kennedys.
Yeah. And I can hardly, even to this day, I have to force myself to look at his face when they show you pictures, because they're repeating his life so as you'll know what he was like when he was alive. And I say, well, I'm going to look at him. He is dead. And I look at him and I can't.
Wow, so
I
there
just
was
can't.
something different about him, and you've seen that in people
Yeah, I
when they're
saw
going to
that
die,
all
that
those
they
years
look
ago.
Well, their
differently.
auras have a different color.
What color is the
Their
aura?
auras, you see through it. There's no color.
It's transparent.
Yeah, it's blank.
I've noticed like a few
Each
weeks...
color corresponds to a different thought
A few
or
weeks
emotion.
before my mother died, I noticed that her eyes looked very different. And somebody else had said that when he saw his father a few weeks before he died, his eyes, it looked like you could look into his eyes and see eternity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's easier to see than an aura.
They no longer look out, they look in. But the mystic could look in without dying.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay?
Interesting note in the chat from Mike J. Dr. Gene Cirillo is the one in the middle. That name does sound familiar, Mike, now that you mentioned that. Dr. Gene Cirillo in the middle used to appear on Montel Williams, Jenny Jones, and Sally Jesse Raphael, all those talk shows from the 90s. Also, Mike points out Mickey Fantasy did the theme song to Uniquely You Now. Yes, a very strange theme song, which comes up at the end of this. I loved this show. Oh, Mike, you watched this show. Wow. Yeah, I have a couple of episodes. I didn't know that they did a lot of them. And Amanda Lust, I want to thank you for contributing in the super chat. Amanda says, best way to spend a Saturday night. As always, thank you, Rich, for sharing all this solid gold with us. Happy to share it with you, Amanda, and appreciate your support in the super chat. All-Star Nucleus says, I love the authenticity on these shows. No perfectly manicured TV show hosts with emotionally charged headlines parroting the talking points of the day. Just unique people spitting what they know. Yeah, we love it, right, All-Star Nucleus? And I can tell you all enjoy this as well from your comments. So let's go back to Mickey Fantasy.
The mystic could achieve that state of samadhi, satori, nirvana, pentultimate experience, the state of dropping the body without dropping the body. See, dropping the body in death, the moment of death is a transition period. To go
But
on
the mystic has the unique ability to move in and out of that state.
That's right. That's what the mystic state is all about. It's the state of one, the state of essence, prime, the state of inner motion, without the chaos and the chatter and the clatter and the confusion of the mind, clouding the issue, clouding the heartbeat. The mystic can play the drums in sync with the heartbeat that the mystic hears. How many people can hear the heart beating?
Well, not too many people can hear hearts beat, except the doctor with the special instrument. Not too many people can see auras either, although I've seen some interesting things now. They show how a camera, I always hated still pictures. I like videos much better, but the camera can pick up if there's sun damage in somebody's face where a regular camera can't. Now, maybe there's a camera that can pick up an aura, too.
It can pick up the sun damage. It shows a black
face. Yeah. When it's a white person whose skin looks relatively undamaged, suddenly this camera will pick up. The skin will darken and it'll show the extent of the sun damage. Now, are there cameras or are there certain people like yourself with eyes that can actually see an aura?
There are cameras that pick up auras.
What kind of cameras?
You could go to a seminar, one of these conventions. They take a picture of you for a couple of bucks. They show you your auras. People are sensitive, they could see auras. I see auras. You have a great aura right now. It's sort of like reddish.
Oh, it is.
You're excited. The thoughts have gotten to you. Your energy level is palpitating. I could read your mind as cascading with 1,000,001 thoughts.
What color is my aura usually?
Your aura is usually gold or bluish.
Gold or bluish?
Yeah.
And then it becomes red.
Red is power, mentally excitable, energized.
May was told she has a white aura.
May has a white aura, but now May's aura is golden.
Yeah, it varies.
She's into the mix. Now, golden is a comative. My aura.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
I'm red.
You're red, bright red.
Oh,
I can imagine.
I'm there. You know, you're there with me, so you know.
Right. Well, some of it rubbed off on me.
Well, it's the symbiosis and sympathetic communication and the proximity. And
you're sitting closer to her than to me.
But, okay, but You were red before, too, when I met you out in the street coming to the studio.
I think anybody who sees you in the street, their aura becomes red.
Well, I'm a bit...
Something must happen
a
that
bit
they remember
contagious
you.
or infectious or enthusiastic or...
All right, unfortunately we have to wind up now, but you're going to be coming back in a few weeks. So anybody who sees Mickey out in the street, please, he's not shy, just say hello, Mickey.
We're going to continue on the alchemy of the mystic next time. Walk in spirit, share the light, hold fast to the dream.
Yeah, that was the music of Mickey Fantasy. It sounded like a little bit of Manish Boy in the background there. Yeah, how about it? So what did we see tonight? We saw the amazing Dr. D and her husband, Raoul, talking about their various conspiracies. We saw a little bit of Biond Fury, the telepsychic. We just wrapped with Uniquely You Now with Mickey Fantasy and Biond Fury. I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight, and those of you who participated in the super chat. Thank you, Shenzhen, Nick, Dominique, Buttermilk Jug, Steven Singer, and Easy Wages, and Amanda Lust. Thank you all. There's lots more where this came from. I've got a big library of public access shows from the 80s and 90s, largely in New York City, but even outside of New York City, and slowly in the process of digitizing and sharing those with you. Andy Nelson, Dan, you're late. Oh, sorry you're late, but check this out. You can find this, at Biond Vaudeville on YouTube. By the way, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel at YouTube, please do so. And you'll be kept up to date. You'll know when we go live. You'll know what new stuff we're putting up. So make sure you subscribe to at Biond Vaudeville on YouTube, at Biond Vaudeville on Instagram and on Facebook. If you're interested in Biond Vaudeville merchandise like this T-shirt, which has the original show card, you can find it at the Biond Vaudeville shop on Etsy, which is open just till tonight, and then it's going to go on vacation for a little while. That's the way that shop operates. And thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ramey Winter. Thanks, Nick Dominique. Thanks, All-Star Nucleus. And we'll likely be doing this Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're not doing it tomorrow because of the big SNL 50th anniversary celebration. So thanks everybody, and hope you all have a great night or great day wherever you are in the world right now. And thanks for your continued support of Biond Vaudeville and Oddville. Really appreciate it. Thanks everybody. Bye.